Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up, and all the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw the cargo into the sea to light the ship, but Jonah had gone below the deck, where he laid down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us, and we will not perish." And then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." Because that's a great way to figure things out. They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Doesn't that always happen when you're downstairs sleeping and they pick out jobs or they try to blame someone? It's always the guy that's downstairs sleeping. And so that's how, Jonah, oh yeah, you picked lots. So they asked him, "Tell us who is responsible for making all this trouble for us. What do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" And he answered, "I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land." And the sea was getting rougher and rougher, and so they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become calm. I know that this is my fault, that this great storm has come upon you." And then they cried to the Lord, "O Lord, please do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, O Lord, have done as you pleased." And then they took Jonah, and they threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. And at this the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord, and they made vows to him. But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Now this is the part that blows my mind. Ignore the fish part for a minute. I know it's not an easy part to ignore. But go back to these guys. I just think that it's ironic that Jonah leaves where he's supposed to go because he's afraid to worship. He's afraid to serve. He's afraid to minister to these people. But he ends up ministering to an entire boat of sailors. Have you watched some of these shows on sailors? Come on. An entire boat of them. And as soon as the storm starts, right, they're all calling out to their own gods. They're like, whatever, they got wrapped around their necks, or whatever idols, or whatever vases, or vases, or whatever they have, clay models, idols, all these things. They're worshiping to them. You worship to your God because, mine's not showing up today, so you call on yours, you call on yours. They're totally lost and discombobulated in this storm. And by the end, when Jonah says, "Listen, my God created it all. My God is so huge and it's so amazing that he created the storm. He created the waters, the winds. And it's that God that's doing this, and it's my fault." He was basically honest with these guys. And because of that, because of his witness to these sailors, he ends up doing the very thing he's running from. Witnessing to people that he's afraid of. Doing the thing that God's called him to do. And you see, it's one of those things where when you're created to do something, it's so hard to run from it. Because when it's something you love, you tend to do it anyway. Mark Batterson said that you find the thing that you love by what makes you mad, what makes you sad, and what makes you glad. Okay, take that home. What makes you mad, glad, and sad? And in ministry, for him, for Jonah, it obviously made him sad, and he left. Or mad at God, and if you read through the rest of Jonah in chapter 3, he gets real angry at Jonah, or real angry at God. But it's something that he loved to do, and he just couldn't get away from it. And so before we can really get off the bench, because that's what this is about, it's about getting off the bench and not running. Before we can get off the bench and join the game, we need to know the creator of the game. Before we can get off the bench and then figure out our purpose, we need to know the creator of our purpose. Does that make sense? Before we can get into this life, we need to know the creator of life. And so there's a promise that we get from God in Jeremiah 29:11, and we've used this before. "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And he's saying, listen, if you get in this game, if you'll get off the bench, there's great things in store for you. A fulfilling life.